What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Palm City Chucks. First off, we apologize for the missed week last week. Life happens, and unfortunately, both of us still have day jobs that keep us busy sometimes. And
Yes,
for my fellow
most
Wisconsinites out
unfortunate.
there, I had some drinking to do on St. Patty's weekend. I'm sure you all understand, as the drunkest state. There are priorities here. Now, this week we've got running backs for you. We are going to run through the running back rankings. And just want to give a little reminder of the rules plus some updates. As we get farther into the off season, more contracts are signed, players change teams, and those things become confirmed. So we've got to update our list accordingly to that because the ultimate goal is how do we think they'll rank at the end of the 2025-2026 season? How will their next season be? So, for example, Raheem Mostert on the Raiders, Najee on the Chargers. Those are going to be our two back selections for those teams, even though they have yet to play a snap for them. But with that, let's get right into it. Running back rankings 32 for me, right away. I got Raheem Mostert at the bottom spot. He's old, really dropped off last year. Devon Achane really took a hold in that Miami backfield. He had 85 carries, I think, and fumbled twice in those 85 carries. That's a pretty bad fumble rate for a running back. And he's also on the Raiders offense. I don't see a lot happening there for him. So,
What?
yeah,
Raiders? Come on.
I know. 31, Jaleel McLaughlin. All right, I mean, in a running back committee with Javonte last year, neither of them very convincing. Not sure I expect much of a change out of him. Who knows if he's even the starting running back for them at the end of next year. Audric Estime might get a shout there. Who knows? Maybe they draft somebody. 30, Travis Etienne. A guy I am just not convinced of anymore. And again, he's a guy who I think could get usurped by his current backup in Tank Bigsby. So I did really factor that into these rankings, guys that I think might lose their jobs as the years move on. 29, Javonte Williams moved to the Cowboys now, and he just has not been the same since he tore that ACL. I'm not sure
No.
that'll ever get back to what he was before, which was a very promising young back. So I got him down here at 29. And then at 28, DeAndre Swift, which kind of pains me a little bit to
No.
do this to this guy, put him this low. But, he's been in the league for a little while now when it comes to running backs. He's a little smaller, had his worst year of his career last year. Typically, when you see those kind of things in a running back, it means maybe they're on the downturn of their career. So I got him down here at 28. Who you got, Chris?
Okay. That one's a little spicy.
It is a little
We go to war
spicy.
at the end, people. At the
Yeah.
end. Okay. 32, I also have Raheem Mostert. And 31, I also have Jaleel McLaughlin. Much like you said, just which honestly, these first few are just guys I don't know if they're going to hold on to the job. I think the teams are still shopping for sure. And then at the 30 spot, I also have ETN, Travis Etienne. At 29, I have Ramondre Stevenson. And at 28, I have Javante Williams.
Okay, so it's nothing too crazy there yet, actually. I'm surprised that you
No,
also had ETN this low. That's an interesting one. But
yeah.
I'll shut up now. We can talk about that
Yeah,
that
we'll
at the
talk.
end.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
which I have a feeling we're gonna agree, but
Yeah, exactly. I would say so. We'll move on for me. 27, I got Chase Brown. Had some bright moments, had some not so bright moments. A guy that could totally end higher on this list, but I'm just not super convinced. So, got him at 27. 26, this one really pained me to plug this guy this low, but I got Nick Chubb here. Just doesn't have the explosiveness anymore. Sometimes he does, but it's just not as consistent. And I think there's just now better backs in the league after the injuries. Maybe nobody as powerful as him, but overall better.
yeah,
25, Jalen Warren. Looks like he's officially going to be taking that number one role over from Najee. So I actually kind of like him, but I'm interested to see how he does with a true running back one workload because he's a little on the smaller side. Not sure if he can
yeah.
take the types of hits that Najee did for him. 24, that's where I got Ramondre Stevenson coming in. I kind of like this guy a little bit. Did have a good start to last year, and then he really cooled off. Um, don't think he's awful. Don't think he's ever going to be insane. So 24 feels about right for him. And 23, I got Tony Pollard. Um, he showed some spark last year on the Titans. I don't think I expected that at all, especially when his last year in Dallas. He certainly looked not so great, and I thought he was improved last year, but again, nothing too crazy. So 23 feels about right for him.
All right. So at 27, I have Nick Chubb, which it's just so painful having him this low, but
It
I
is.
feel like we didn't see much last year. Like they definitely eased him back after the injuries, and I mean they were already dumpster fire city. So yeah, just feel like we didn't get a true taste of the Chubb. And I feel like hopefully we do next year. It's definitely a guy I always root for. Definitely one of my favorite backs in the league. Really hope he bounces back, but with the age and the injury history, can't really confidently put him up higher on this list. Um, at 26, I have Jalen Warren. I think you made a great point. I kind of feel the same way. Unsure of how he fits as RB1. And again, guys towards the end of this list, I feel like could be replaced. Um, and then at 25, I have Tyrone Tracy Jr. This is a back who honestly ran pretty well, especially for having the Phil Saquon shoes in New York. I was very impressed with him, but I just feel like, again, young guy, didn't really see all too much. Don't really know what the future is going to be like for him. Uh, and 24, I have Chase Brown, which is pretty much the same deal there. Looked good, young guy. Don't really know what the future holds. I mean, clearly they had a plan with Zach Moss and then injuries and other things, and Brown just kind of filled in. So I don't know if he truly won that job or if there will be changes down the road. And then 23, I have Tony Pollard. And I once again agree. He looked really well or really good considering that Titans team. Um, and I mean, it kind of checks out. He had his moments as a Cowboy as well. Big play guy and Lev explosion. So that's a guy that could definitely climb.
Yeah, I gotta say, this isn't ha this hasn't been as different as I expected to this point. There's nothing like
No,
out of this
no,
world.
we're not into the crazies yet.
We're not into
It's
the
gonna get
crazies yet.
nutty.
Yeah. 22 for me, that's where I got Tyrone Tracy coming in. I think this guy could have something, especially if the Giants actually do what they need to do to support a running back. They didn't do that for
Hmm.
Saquon though, so I'm not sure that Tyrone Tracy will get that treatment either,
Yeah.
because as good as he might be, he certainly is not going to be a Saquon. But we got Tyrone at 22. 21, this one was a bit tough for me because I feel like this guy has a lot of potential, but he had a really rough year last year. And that is Kenneth Walker. Um, he really could bounce back, but I'm not sure. He averaged like 3.7 yards per carry last year. That's pretty tough for a starting running back with decent volume. It's really
Yeah.
not great, so I
Well,
couldn't put him
and
any higher.
to your point, Charbonnet actually did more with less.
Yeah,
So, yeah, there might be something there.
yeah. So I don't know. Well, that one's interesting. 20 got Brian Robinson. He does a job for the Washington Commanders. I'm not sure that he's super explosive guy, but he does a really good job in what they need him to do. Um, 19 got Najee. It's just a pure workhorse. Hard to hate him. Sometimes he's got some very inefficient games, but I'll tell you, he's gonna run that rock and take those hits and tire out that defense, which is
Yep.
very important. Um, and then at 18, I got Isaiah Pacheco. This one was a bit of an interesting one for me because you'd think naturally might be a bit higher because he looked really good when he was on the field, but honestly, looking at the Chiefs, they almost seemed to favor Kareem Hunt even after Pacheco got healthy, even in
Yeah.
the playoffs. So I thought that was a bit interesting. Wonder if maybe Pacheco fell out of favor a little bit there, or maybe never got
Yeah.
fully
I
healthy.
mean, even in the Super Bowl, he didn't see the ball. He had one carry in the second half, and then it was pretty much out. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's a surprising development for sure. Because, like you said, he looked really good coming into last year. Had the job, had the injury, and then all of a sudden he's not the guy. But he has a lot of juice. I really like the way he runs. So yeah, it's kind of shocking. But
Yeah.
yeah, which I'll get to mine. But I think he belongs exactly where you put him.
Not
um,
foreshadowing at all.
yeah, not at all. So at 22, I have Najee. And I'm really excited to see him on a new team. I'm really curious what that's going to do. And I feel like the Chargers kind of have a similar offensive style to the Steelers. So I feel like it fits. Like you said, he's going to get the rock, he's going to get pounded, he's going to, hit defense and deliver punishment rather than receive it. And I feel like that's a good fit for that Chargers squad.
I agree. He's got a
Um,
better overall offense around him too. That's going to help a lot.
he does. Yeah, totally. And at 21, I have Brian Robinson Jr. I really appreciate what you said about him because I love him, dude. And he's a freaking commander.
Yep.
I feel like he is awesome and just crazy undervalued. And I mean, maybe even on this list, if this was dudes I like, he's probably top five. Um, but yeah, I feel like the volume is an issue. And, um, he's not terrible as a pass catcher, but he is really just a good hammer. And he's a guy that kind of should have a Najee role, like get the touches up and he can punish a defense. And then at 20, I have Chuba Hubbard, which I kind of struggled with, honestly, because he had a really good year. And it was kind of the first year we could truly test him because the Panthers finally addressed the offensive line. Like he literally had nothing before this.
Yeah.
And position battles and other things too, since they paid Booby Miles. Great job, Panthers. Um, but yeah, really good year. Feel like I might have him a little low, but we'll see. I mean, the talent is here as we go through these names. It's tough, people. It is tough.
Just
And then at 19, I have DeAndre Swift. Um, I'm expecting improvement this year. The Bears have already done a lot to address offensive line. I think Caleb Williams is going to be more comfortable because of this, become more of a threat in the passing game, which can open up the run game. And let's not forget, Swift is a phenomenal receiving back. Um, yeah, I think he'll have a bounce back year. Nothing crazy, but kind of back to what he used to do. And then at 18, I think we know. It's Pacheco. Yeah, it's Pacheco. But um yeah, I mean I kind of already touched on it. It's a guy who could certainly climb if he gets the job back and I honestly hope he does. Like Hunt is a good player, but we all kind of know what he is. I want to get these young guys going.
I agree. I would like to see Pacheco again. He just runs like an animal. There's no other way to
Oh
describe
yeah.
it. It's straight cheetah out there. Um, but yeah, I'll take it away again at 17. This one I feel like might be a bit controversial, but I got Joe Mixon all the way down here at 17. Um, Aging guy, I think I expect a bit of a fall off from him now. I think this might be. I think it kind of started a little bit last year. Scored a good amount of touchdowns, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he was quite as good and efficient. And I wonder if age is possibly starting to catch up to him. He did a lot of work for the Bengals and has continued to do a lot for the Texans. So got him at 17. 16, Aaron Jones re signing with the Minnesota Vikings. Another guy that I think he's a little undervalued. He does a lot both in the run and the receiving game. But again, I think he's past the point of his career where he's a true game breaker. So I don't think I could put him any higher than this, given the talent that we've got left on the list. 15, Brees Hall. This one was hard because this guy has all the talent in the world, but he did not play well for the majority of last season. At the same time, the entire Jets offense was completely dysfunctional. So I wouldn't be surprised if he vaults way up this list again because he looked like a true talent. But
Oh
for
yeah.
right now, I got him at 15. 14, James Conner, a guy that just comes in and does his job and does it really well. Did it for the Steelers, he's doing it for the Cardinals. There's a reason they re-signed him. Does a great job for them. 13, Alvin Kamara. He's a gadget guy and does great at all those things. Something I think that's forgotten. He's still yet to run for 1,000 yards in a season ever.
Yeah.
I just want to
Yep.
throw that out there. But he
It's a
does a
crazy
lot
stat.
in the receiving game as well. I know you hear the name Alvin Kamara, you think he's probably got a 1,500 yard season under his belt and is yet to break 1,000. Um, and he's aging. He's aging. And there's a lot of young guys on this list that I just felt deserved to be a little bit higher than him. So I got him at 13.
All right. At 17, I have James Conner, and this is another guy I freaking love. Like, he's just awesome. He does it all too. I mean, he's a great receiving back and he's huge. He's a hammer and he's still shifted. I mean, he does it all. He's a very good running back. And like you said, he's been nothing but good to every team he's played for and is just so reliable, no matter what's surrounded around him. But yeah, just a lot of talent, so I had to put him at 17, but really do love the guy. At 16, I have Kenneth Walker. Expecting a bounce back. I mean, you said it. We both kind of touched on it. Not a great year for him. Expect him to bounce back because I think he has a lot of talent. Injuries are definitely a factor with him, but if he can stay on the field, I think good things will happen. At 15, I also have Brees Hall. This was tough. I mean, you said it. He looked amazing. I mean, hell, I had the first pick in fantasy last year in one of my leagues, and I drafted the guy. Like, that's the level of holy crap, this guy's got it.
Well, we know you
And
didn't win that league.
no, I did not. I did not. Did win one league though. But yeah,
Yeah.
that one, no, not so much. Um, but yeah, he can bounce back for sure. Like you said, he could climb up on this list, but after last year, and I mean he had Rodgers like the whole year too. Like I thought it would get going eventually, and it just never did. And even his backup Allen, like he looked really good at times, and
Yeah.
I
Braylon
wonder
Allen
if
did
there
look
was
very
something
good.
else. Yeah, I wonder if there's something else going on there. But yeah, have him at 15. At 14, I have Bucky Irving, which he was amazing and stole a job from White. So that's the only reason why I have him so low is we didn't see a full season of him really, but he did look great and his opportunities given and had a wonderful season. He probably the best rookie back.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think so, 100%.
definitely. Definitely. And he is on my list too. Um, but yeah, phenomenal season, but yeah, just need to see a little more before I go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Um, yeah, that's a new nickname for Bucky Irving. He's Cocoa Puffs. Uh, at 13, I have Aaron Jones. Um, which we're not far off on each other, but we will definitely be going to war there because Aaron Jones had a phenomenal season. But yes, age is a factor. But I'll save the rest for war.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, uh, I'm excited to talk about that one. I feel pretty strongly about mostly the guys that I have in front of him, I would say.
Okay.
But we'll get to
Yeah.
that. We'll get to that. Number 12. This one was hard. Christian McCaffrey. But the guy, like, he deserves to be so much higher, but can you really trust at this point that he's going to play a full year? I don't know. I don't know, so I just couldn't rationalize putting him any higher than this. 11. This is a guy we will go to war over. Chuba Hubbard. Like, I've got him
Okay.
all the way
Yeah.
up at 11 here. I think he caught some shade from you being down at 20. I think that's criminal.
I
But
justified it. Come
yeah,
on.
sure. Uh, Number 10, got Devon A. Chain. Absolutely took over the Miami backfield last year. Like I said, Raheem Mostert got less than 100 carries. Devon A. Chain did a ton, and that guy is fast as hell. So I think he's got a good future as long as he doesn't get wrecked because he is also tiny. Um, Number 9 is where I have Bucky Irving coming in. I liked what I saw from him a lot, and I saw a lot of him because I had Rashad White in one of my dynasty leagues and was very upset to see the job falling away
Yeah,
from him because this guy looked
right.
so great. So, while it wasn't a full season's body of work, it was for a lot of the season. The overtake started pretty early on, and he, as you
Yeah,
said,
probably by
was
like week 5 or 6,
excellent.
he was
Yeah.
already kind of putting his stamp on it.
Yes, I thought he was excellent. And coming in at number 8 for me, Kyron Williams. Um, the guy scored a crap ton of touchdowns last year. And if we were doing this list last year, he probably would have been top 3 for me. But he definitely had a bit of a drop off in efficiency last year, especially in the run game. And Blake Corum did start to get a few touches, so 8 feels
Yeah.
about right for him there.
And ball security too. Not to roast the
Yes,
guy. Love my Rams, but yeah,
it was a problem.
it was. Um, at 12, I have Alvin Kamara, another old guy, getting old. Never rushed for over 1,000, as you said, but definitely all purpose. Every year he's over 1,000, and yeah, he's just a great receiving back. He's probably the best in the league, which that's just because of the way they use him. Like there's some other guys that definitely could be Kamara if their offense called for it, but they get him the ball and by running it to them a lot more than Kamara gets it. But yeah, love the guy. He's awesome. One of the only Saints I respect. I'm still salty, man. That game
I
was
believe it.
ridiculous. But anyway, number 11, I have Achan here. Um, love your praise for him because I mean you're right. The guy's awesome. I feel like he almost looked Kamara-ish last year. He was catching the ball constantly, and yeah, I mean he's just so fast, and he gets on the outside on a run or a catch. It's watch out. He's good in open space. Then at 10, I have Joe Mixon. Yes, he's old, but man, he's another guy that does it all and has done it all forever. And I would never disrespect him with a 17 spot. um, Following Sir Mixon, I have Christian McCaffrey, which I mean, you kind of hinted at it. Really tough guy to put down on paper here,
Yep.
because I mean, we know the upside is number one for him, and yeah, it's just what are you going to get from him at this point? We've seen him come back from injuries before and be the best run back in the league. Does that happen again? Does he get through half a season? Does he get through fucking camp? Like, you
It's a
don't know
valid
with this
question.
guy.
It really is.
Yeah, you don't know with this guy. He did play 4 games this year, 2 of which he went for over 100. So kind of showed he still has it. But then, I mean, he got hurt again. So yeah, really tough guy to place. But yeah, fell with 9 on him. And number 8, I also have Kyron Williams. And yeah, I agree. Like going in the last year, he probably would have been higher on this list. And he had a really good year, had a lot of touchdowns, like you said. So it's kind of tough to see how he dropped. But I mean, there's just a lot of talent at the position. But yeah, I love the guy. Another back that does it all. Very good at catching. And yeah, can run and decent blocker too. And we saw with Corum getting hurt, the guy lived on the field, and that
Oh
didn't
yeah.
phase him at all.
At the same time, credit to Kyron for being this high on the list. Because he was fifth round pick, definitely never supposed to be starting for
Oh
the
yeah,
Rams. So for him to even be up here, it's pretty awesome. So
very true.
not knocking on y'all, Kyron. You have already beat all expectations here. But moving on to
Yeah, it's all
7.
icing.
Yeah, 7 for me. A guy that I do not think gets enough credit for his team's success last year because he was overshadowed by Mr. Josh Allen, James Cook. He was awesome on the ground, contributed in the passing game, did everything he needed, always played with super high effort. I mean, you just got to look at that one run in the AFC Championship game where he got into
Wow.
the end zone. Insane. Like, that was
Yeah,
really, really
remarkable
awesome.
effort.
So James Cook at 7 for me. We're really getting to the cream of the crop here.
Hmm.
6, Jonathan Taylor. Um, he's amazing. He is really just amazing. But, you know, There's just guys ahead of him that are a little bit more amazing right now. As
Yeah,
he
right.
wasn't quite the same Jonathan Taylor of 2 years ago at this point. It's hard to keep the year straight, honestly, but he's still really
Yeah.
good. Um, Number five, Josh Jacobs. He was an animal for the Green Bay Packers last year. Absolute animal. Um, I think pure talent wise, I might have, put Jonathan Taylor ahead of him. I really went back and forth on those two between 5 and 6, but Josh Jacobs was just insane for the Packers and so vital to their success in a really tough division that I think he earned the 5 spot here. Um, Number four, Bijan Robinson, a guy that got a ton of hype coming out of college, and he has shown why in his first 2 years. Here's to hoping that they start giving Bijan the ball a little bit more.
Yes.
So release the
Please.
beast that is Bijan. And then
Yes.
coming in at number three for me is close to my heart, Mr. Sonic of the Sonic and Knuckles combination in the Detroit Lions backfield, Jahmyr Gibbs. I love people that say we overdrafted him. We reached. Ha! Ha!
Yeah.
Tell us that
Hey,
now.
honestly, yeah, I thought so at the time. I thought it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, you look at his body of work, it was certainly not crazy. That guy is a baller, and he's a game wrecker, really.
Oh,
He can
absolutely.
just win you games, just takes a few touches. All right. And at seven for me, I also have James Cook. And again, really like the way you put this one because yeah, it's Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Josh Allen, and this guy had a phenomenal season. And another back that does it all pretty well. We're seeing that as we get to the top. We really like the backs that, could do everything at a high level.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, at six, I also have Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, he's still a beast. He's a monster. It's just, like you said, just these guys ahead of him, just a little bit more of a monster. At five, I have Bijan. Yeah, this guy could climb even higher, but they do not give him the ball.
Nope.
No. But
Just
yeah, if they start doing that, guy can definitely climb. But for now, chilling at the five spot. At four, I have Josh Jacobs. I mean, you said it again, but the guy was amazing for Green Bay last year. They really need him through stretches of the season with, the injuries to Love and, just not really getting the passing game going. But yeah, this guy is the ultimate hammer. Um, behind a guy we didn't mention yet, he's probably the best hammer. And
yeah,
yeah, the guy's a stud.
that's fair.
And at three, oh,
I'm
sorry,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say I don't think that anybody would argue with the other guy being the best hammer in the league. like
Yeah,
that.
right. Oh,
Uh,
yeah. You could think Gibbs was a stretch getting drafted that early, but you could not think there
no,
isn't a clear number one hammer. Probably, I mean, arguably in NFL history. It's ridiculous what this guy's done, but we'll talk about him in a minute. At number three, I also have Gibbs. Another guy, honestly, much like Bijan, he just did more with his limited touches, but he's got Montgomery and I love Montgomery, you know this, but he's low key in the way. I want to see Gibbs frickin' 25 touches a game. Like, come on.
but he still
Which
puts
he's
up
another.
crazy numbers
He
with the
does, he
touches, and
does, and
that's
he's also a smaller back. So you see the logic behind the two-headed monster here. But yeah, he's just eye candy, man. Like, no homo. I want to see that boy run the ball. But yeah, it's Montgomery's low key in the way. But we got a few weeks of no Montgomery, so
did get a few weeks of no Montgomery, and I missed Knuckles. All right,
yeah.
sometimes you just
Hey, I
want the
did too.
hammer.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love the two-headed back dealio in Detroit, no doubt about it.
All right, I guess that brings us to our final two. I don't think there's gonna be any surprises here. Number two, got Derrick Henry. The guy's just a beast. He's been a beast forever. He's huge, doesn't slow down. The fact that he weighs as much as he does and can run as fast as he does, some of his
It's
breakaway runs this
terrifying.
past year were crazy. I'd watch them and be like, oh, he'll get caught. Nah, he gained ground. Like it was absurd.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and number one, it's got to be Saquon. It's got to be Saquon. The guy was finally unleashed when he went to a competent team. Um,
Oh,
and away from the New York
I'm
Giants
blushing.
shithole. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just remember that moment. There won't be many of those. But
Oh, I will.
yeah, yeah. But Saquon is amazing. I don't feel like I need to explain myself there. He does
No,
backwards
you
hurdles. I mean, come on.
right.
Yeah, like
Yeah. One of the only things more impressive than a 230-pound back running 24 miles per hour or whatever Henry is. But yeah, I have the same order. Henry at two, followed by Barkley at number one. Yeah, tough to not have that 1-2 dealio after last year. Both backs in phenomenal systems, and all signs point towards it working next year. So yeah, I mean, you have Henry with a guy like Lamar in the backfield. It's gonna work, and Saquon with the Eagles O line and Hurts as a rushing threat. It's gonna work.
yeah, yeah. All right. There wasn't too
Shall we?
many like crazy. I guess there wasn't a lot of difference overall, but there were a few that were quite different. Um,
Yeah.
you had Joe Mixon at 10. I had him at
Yep.
17. Why all the way up at 10 for you?
I mean, I've never seen the guy disappoint. It's one of those things like you're predicting the fall off, which I respect. But like we haven't seen it, and I you mentioned there were signs of it this year, but yeah, I don't know about that. The guy was coming back from injury, and yeah, I haven't seen a true fall off yet, so I expect top 10 results, which is what he's done his whole career. So that's pretty much the logic there. I will say I was close to bumping him back one spot, but that's it. I never I never considered dropping him further than that.
That's fair. That's fair. I just think I don't know. I mean, he only averaged 4.1 yards per carry last year. Don't get me wrong, the Texans line wasn't
They're really not
amazing,
bad either.
but it's
It's not
average.
great.
It's
Yeah,
average,
it's
which
not
is right
great.
about where I have in my list at 17, right smack dab in the middle.
Fair, fair.
So like I said,
That'd
yeah,
be average.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know that I see it jumping back up to something like 4.5 or something that you like to see a little bit more. So, and I'm not saying that he's bad, but I think he's going to be more of an average back now. And I think 10 is definitely a little too rosy, especially when you put guys like Bucky Irving behind him. I just definitely
Yeah.
couldn't see that. I definitely think James Conner should be ahead of him. Like I said, that was the big thing with that one is I just really felt the guys in front of him were pretty solidly in front of him for me. Um,
Okay.
was the big thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Like you mentioned guys that could be ahead of him, and like there's some guys even lower that, we don't know. Like they very well could be. We mentioned Brees Hall making a huge jump, potentially Kenneth Walker, um, Pacheco. Like these are all guys that could be ahead of him, but yeah, we just don't know yet. But speaking of, we did touch on it a good bit, but I feel like it's pretty crazy. We both have Brees Hall so low.
I agree. Yeah, at the
15.
exact same spot at 15.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, he just didn't look great last year. And the big thing, you put it perfectly. We're saying a lot of that to each other this episode. I think we're a little too much
Yeah.
on the same page. Is
Right.
in the same offense, Braylon Allen, who I wasn't super high on myself. I saw him play a few times out here in Wisconsin. Um, Looked really, really good in an offense that Brees Hall really, really struggled in.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty big factor for me. I think I would have forgiven him quite a bit and probably top 10 if Braylon Allen looked about the same. But Braylon Allen
Right.
was clearly not the best back on the Jets last year. So I really don't know which way he could swing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it. You almost blame the O line on this one because Braylon Allen was like hammer hit the whole go, and Hall's always trying to do a little extra,
He's
make a
more your
move,
zone
bounce it
run guy.
outside.
Yeah,
Right. So I wonder if that played a role in it, where Allen was just I'm taking what they're giving me every play and falling forward. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting we had him so low because I mean the talent's there for sure. Any other ones? We
at some
really
point
did
you got to go
pretty
prove it.
good, man.
I know. I mean, one you
It's very
mentioned you want to
similar
talk
again.
about is Aaron Jones. You had him at
Yeah,
13. I had him at 16. Why were you so upset about that?
yeah. Which I said we're really not that far off.
Yeah,
I think I just didn't like what you said about him because he had a really, really great year, and this was a big part of us. Like, why the hell are the Vikings so good? Like, he played a role in that, and it's a guy who does it all, and he's very good in the pass game. And yeah, he just stayed relatively healthy this year for the first time in a while. And I got like flashbacks of, prime him with Rodgers in Green Bay. And yeah, the guy just really does everything so well. And yeah, I just didn't like what you said about him, less than where you had him. Because yeah, only 3 spots. That's pretty nitpicky. I can live with that.
that's fair. I think he's another guy, which makes sense considering I had him back to back with Joe Mixon. It's like projecting a little bit of a downturn based on age and amount of touches they've had in the league. And is that Vikings team
Right.
really going to be able to repeat what they did last year, especially with a JJ McCarthy? I absolutely do not believe in stepping in to take control of the offense. I don't know. Aaron Jones might have to do a lot of work. And if you can focus in
Yeah.
on a back because the quarterback isn't really a threat, well, we've seen what that can do with a talent like Saquon. So
Right.
who knows?
That's
That's good.
gotta be an old running back's like worst nightmare.
Has to be. Has to be.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to deal with 8 in the box. I'm too old for this shit.
Oh man. But yeah, one I want to touch on because I think you disrespected him. Chuba Hubbard. You got him all the way down at
Yeah,
20, had him all the way up at 11. I mean, he was amazing all of last year.
he was. He
Absolutely
was really
amazing.
good.
On a Panthers team that was not good. They switched out quarterbacks mid-season, then switched back. A guy, he's one of those guys that they could throw so many at the box because they knew they weren't going to get great quarterback play for at least half the year, and he still produced
And he
an
still performed.
extremely efficient season. Extremely efficient season. I mean, he doesn't really have a threat to his job. I mean, Miles Sanders isn't doing anything. Jonathan Brooks is there, but he's now
Yeah,
torn his ACL again after coming back,
yeah,
so two
that was
times
a
in a
shame.
row. Not yeah, that is a shame because he looked like he could be really good. And honestly, if you asked me before the start of last year, I would have said Jonathan Brooks might take his job once he comes back and is healthy.
Oh, totally.
Um,
That's
but
that was what their plan was for sure.
yeah,
Otherwise, they weren't
exactly.
picking him there. That was second round pick coming off an injury
Yeah,
like
I
that.
just think
So
Chuba absolutely balled out, and I think the things that really bother me are some of the guys you put ahead of him: DeAndre
yeah.
Swift, Kenneth Walker. Like I just, what are we doing here? I couldn't rationalize that in my brain. So
Hey, it'll come clear to you once the future happens.
hey,
I don't know. You're definitely right. He had a phenomenal year. I feel like he is not a top 11 talent in this league. And yeah, I mean maybe I had him a little low, but again, like I'm not doing anything crazy with him. Like he's probably maxed out at like 17 on my list, which we discussed before shooting. 11 to 20 for me was like freaking brutal to do, which he does fit in there. He's 20. So
barely.
there were definitely spots I thought maybe I should put him here. But yeah, I like these other guys better. I just do. And to your point about another one like James Conner, like I'll take him over Hubbard any day. I know exactly what I'm getting out of him. And I don't know if we can say the same for Hubbard. Yes, he was consistently good all year, but it's 1 year. And as I went through with a lot of the rookies on this list, like I really care about how much I saw of you because now tape is out. guys can scheme against you. Like they know what's up. So yeah,
See,
I feel like there's no secrets there for Hubbard, and yeah,
I
I
feel
expect
like
him to
that's
finish around there.
I feel like playtime is like totally true for a lot of other positions, but I think running back is a bit unique in that sense, just because of the amount of time they actually play. Like somebody will take over a starting spot so fast based on just like a small stretch of games, and that'll be their
Yeah,
form for like 2 or 3 years, and the exact same thing happens to them. So I guess like when I think about running backs, I feel like most of the time when they hit their sweet spot and they're younger, that's probably their sweet spot for like 2, 3 years. I don't know that we see too many 1 year bright spot running backs. Definitely plenty of 2 and 3, but not a
yeah,
ton of one. It's like Kyron Williams is I feel like another great example. Wasn't really getting anything. All of a sudden took over like second half of a season 2 years ago, looked really great, and I was really confident going to next year that guy was going to ball out. Maybe not quite as much as he did because he was insane, but
right.
I feel like running backs are a bit unique in that sense compared to other positions when it comes
Yeah,
to playtime.
that is true. And there's less growth they really need to make transitioning from college or whatever it is to the pros. You kind of either have it or you don't. Like, do you have the vision is the main
Yep.
thing. Because all these guys are jacked and fast and whatever. But yeah, can you see the field?
Yeah,
Can you
can you
read the
hit the hole?
field?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And are you fearless, basically?
That
But yeah,
too.
that's a fair point, and I very well could be wrong on him. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm expecting things to happen. Like I have a lot of question marks ahead of him. I'm not saying I don't. Um, like Swift, Pacheco, Walker, like all those guys, like we don't really know, but I'm
That's
expecting
fair.
bounce back years from them, and then a good year for Hubbard, but a step back.
That's that's fair. I'll meet you at like maybe my personal feelings for Herbert have him slightly too high, but I definitely think you have him too low. Like for me, I think he's absolutely top half. No question. No question about that for me. Um, but I can understand maybe not wanting to throw him all the way up at 11. But 20 was
Yeah.
just like, do you know
let's
football?
let's let's. Oh, I know. Uh, let's talk about if McCaffrey comes back and he's God again.
Uh,
How bad our lists look.
well, I feel like we've prefaced with if he is back and healthy, he
Right.
is number one. That
Yeah,
is
you can be.
like mostly
I don't.
undeniable. When he's been
Yeah, he's.
playing at full
Yeah.
force, he's been number one. Um,
Hmm.
just he does so much running, receiving, everything. Um, will he ever be that again? Maybe for a game. Can he do it for a whole season? Gosh, I couldn't tell you right now. What is it like?
Yeah, I wouldn't
Five
bet
out of the
on it.
past, or like 4 out of the last 5, 5 out of the last 6 years. He hasn't played a lot. He's had one full season, I think. So that's tough.
Yeah, totally. Um. Oh, I have one because I really like this guy, and then you had him in a better spot than me, and then talked about how much you liked him, and that's Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah,
But yeah, what's the logic there? Because I feel like getting older, under 4 yards per carry. Um, you said it too. Good early start to the season, and then started dwindling. And he just screams, "Somebody take my job" to me. But I do love his running style. Another like pretty good hammer, and yeah, known to catch the ball too a little bit. And yeah, good little player. Feel like his team may have let him down, and that's why I have him where he is. But yeah, I just feel like they're gonna move on from him.
that's fair. And I don't. I mean, I have him at 24, so I definitely wouldn't put him as a guy that New England's going to make a true effort to fully re-sign. But 2 years ago, he was really solid for them. I thought pretty much the
Yeah,
entire year. Last year, that wasn't always the case, but he did start pretty hot. They were a little weird at quarterback with how the whole coach situation in the end of the year played out. Who knows what they were really playing for, what the message was to the team. Um, and as you said, I just really like the way that he runs. And a big thing for me was again, I'll just use the people behind him. I just don't think I could put them in front of him. Raheem Mostert, Leo McLaughlin, Etienne, Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift, Chase Brown, maybe Nick Chubb, Jalen Warren. They didn't have enough juice for me to get ahead of him. So it's more of I think a lack of what I thought they bring rather than what he did because he is a guy that I think has shown the potential to have quite a decent year. And to your point, he's getting up there, but he's not old yet. What has he had 3 full years of being a lead back?
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe four.
Not too crazy old.
Yeah.
Um, Another guy, because this guy, we both can agree, definitely showed flashes, and certainly a maybe our biggest difference on this list, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, what'd you have Swift at? You had
I had him
Swift at
19.
19. Our
You had him
biggest
28.
so tied with the Chuba difference of 9.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I just put like to say this one was really hard for me being a former Lion. I loved him when he's on Detroit. I was really sad to
yeah.
see him go to the
He's
Eagles, but he hasn't had this problem mostly the last 2 years, but I'll always be scarred by the amount of injuries he had when he was in Detroit. As I said, he's now going on year 6, 7 of decent amount of touches for a fairly smaller back. Had definitely the worst year of his career last year with a new coach coming in. I mean, he's a guy that loves DeAndre Swift from what I hear in his time with the Lions when he was there early in his career. But, is this a time maybe they look to Roshan Johnson, maybe try to get him some more touches, switch up the offense? Does DeAndre really have a bounce back in him at this point in his career? I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. I almost feel like the Bears didn't want to kill him. Like we saw red zone touches go away, which fine. I mean, I guess Johnson's more of a hammer. Um, but yeah, there were games where it was just like the Bears clearly aren't trying to like they're not trying to lose. Like they were a team that was better at hiding a potential tank. Um, like they were definitely fighting and trying to win, but I felt like his usage just kept dropping because he had a stretch of games where he was very, very good. Um, and it was like midway through the season. And
Yep.
then we close up the year last 4, 5 games and the touches just dropped. And it was like, what's happening? Like you finally had something working in this offense, which was just terrible. Um, but yeah, that was perplexing to me. And yeah, I think their O line's gonna be much better. I think Williams will be more comfortable at just being year two, whether the system's a better fit or what. But yeah, I just feel like he'll definitely have a better year. I don't think anything crazy. I mean, I have him at 19, bottom half of the league, but yeah, I don't see him at a 28 spot. Like I feel like the job's definitely his, and yeah, I mean, we could see signs of the Swift of old.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, you say the job's clearly is, but I want to be honest, for cap reasons, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a cap casualty. Yeah, it's just how running backs are these days. Not sure.
Yeah,
I mean, if he stays, I definitely agree the job is definitely his. They probably wouldn't then waste any draft capital on a running back unless they truly are done with Roshan Johnson and thinking he's got anything
yeah,
there, which is a possibility because he had a rough year last year. I think he averaged like 2.7 yards per carry or something like that. But
yeah, that's
we'll
pretty
see.
bad.
Yeah, that's not great. Not, but at the same time, he
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
also took a majority of his touches from the 1 yard line, so hard to
right.
average
He
high
really did.
number. So,
Yeah. But
but I
yeah,
could
it's
totally be
interesting you
wrong there.
mentioned draft capital too with them. Because they did address the O line pretty good in free agency, which we'll talk free agency in another episode. But yeah, that's an interesting take because I hadn't really thought of that, but that's not really as much of a glaring need heading into the draft.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up somewhere in the middle between you and I, to be honest. If we take a look back at the end of next year. something in the
Okay.
22, 23 range, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. Plus, who
But,
knows what? I mean, it's a great rookie class coming in too. Who knows
yep,
what these guys are, where they go and what they do.
yep. Who knows if even all these guys on this list will be starting come day one? We still got running backs like J.K. Dobbins out there on free agency, but we're working with what we got. Um,
Right. It's all we can do.
yeah. With that, my friends, we wrap up yet another episode of Palm City Chucks. We are really enjoying these rankings episodes. They're really fun.
Yes,
They're really difficult, require way more
they
thought than I
are.
think we expected, to be honest. It's a little
Yeah.
bit angst
They
and
come with
agony.
headaches.
Yeah, but we love it. We hope you all are enjoying it, and we thank you as always for tuning in, listening, like, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of the episode and our rankings, and we'll be back next week for wide receiver rankings, and then we're probably moving on to the defense. Maybe we'll throw in offensive line units in there if we're feeling generous. The
Oh.
the boys in the trenches do deserve some
Yeah, give the
love.
big boys
Yeah.
some
But
love.
we'll have to look at the schedule, draft coming up and everything. Gotta talk about that. But we'll see
Right.
you next week, everybody.
Later, PCC.